Hello, ladies, and welcome to our new Bible reading series. I'm Cindra Enlow from heavenlyplace.com, and this year, as we read through the Bible, we'll explore God's incredible story of love and redemption. If you're looking for a Bible reading plan that's simple and doable, this is it. So let's get started and discover the heart of God together, one chapter at a time. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to our one-year Bible reading plan. This is week 24, day 4. And today our scheduled reading is 2 Chronicles chapters 3 through 5 and 1 Kings chapters 7 and 8. So we're reading about the final stages of Solomon building the temple of the Lord, and then we witness something beautiful. And at the end of our reading, we see Solomon dedicating the temple with a prayer that is one of the most powerful and heartfelt in all Scripture. In 1 Kings chapter 8, Solomon prays, and he stands before the altar in front of all the people, kneeling, lifting his hands toward heaven, and he pours out his heart to God. And what stands out to me most is that Solomon isn't just thinking about the people standing right in front of him or himself. He's praying forward. He's trying to cover every possible situation that they may face. He prays for when the people sin, or when they're defeated by an enemy, or when through drought or famine, when a foreigner comes, and to pray, because he says, that God's glory will be heard throughout the world, and people will come to serve him. So over and over, Solomon says or requests that God hear his people when they repent and they call on him, and that he restores them. He knows the people won't be perfect, but he's confident in God's mercy and faithfulness. And as he asks God to meet people, in their repentance, to forgive them and to restore them, to dwell among them, he knows that he will. And this is just a reminder to us that we have a God who hears us. Solomon makes it clear that God is in heaven, but God can hear us, and he answers our prayers. And here's where we see the heart of God. He welcomes us when we return to him, and he listens to us when we pray with a right heart. He delights in dwelling with his people. And it's not because we Chronicles 3. Then Solomon began to build Yahweh's house at Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, and he is full of grace, where Yahweh appeared to David his father, which he prepared in the place that David had appointed on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. Begin our reading today. He began to build in the second day of the second month, in the 4th year of his reign. And now these are the foundations which Solomon laid for the building of God's house. The length by cubits after the first measure was 60 cubits, and the width 20 cubits. The porch that was in front, its length across the width of the house, was 20 cubits, and the height 120, and he overlaid it within with pure gold. He made the larger room with a ceiling of cypress wood, which he overlaid with fine gold, and ornamented it with palm trees and chains. He decorated the house with precious stones for beauty. The gold was gold from Parvaim. He also overlaid the house, the beams, the thresholds, its walls, and its doors with gold, and engraved cherubim on the walls. He made the most holy place. Its length, according to the width of the house, was 20 cubits, and its width 20 cubits, and he overlaid it with fine gold, amounting to 600 talents. The weight of the nails was 50 shekels of gold. He overlaid the upper rooms with gold. In the most holy place he made 2 cherubim by carving, and they overlaid them with gold. The wings of the cherubim were 20 cubits long. The wing of the one was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits, reaching to the wing of the other cherub. The wing of the other cherub was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits, joining to the wing of the other cherub. The wings of these cherubim spread themselves out 20 cubits. They stood on their feet, and their faces were toward the house. He made the veil of blue, purple, crimson, and fine linen, and ornamented it with cherubim. Also he made before the house 2 pillars 35 cubits high, and the capital that was on the top of each of them was 5 cubits. He made chains in the inner sanctuary and put them on the tops of the pillars, and he made 100 pomegranates and put them on the chains. He set up the pillars before the temple, one on the right hand and the other on the left, and called the name of that on the right hand Jachin, and the name of that on the left Boaz. 2 Chronicles 4. Then he made an altar of bronze 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 10 cubits high. Also he made the molten sea of 10 cubits, from brim to brim. It was round, 5 cubits high, and 30 cubits in circumference. Under it was the likeness of oxen, which encircled it, for 10 cubits, encircling the sea. The oxen were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, 3 looking toward the west, 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east. And the sea was set on them above, and all their hindquarters were inward. It was a handbreadth thick. Its brim was made like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It received and held 3,000 baths. He also made 10 basins, and put 5 on the right hand and 5 on the left, to wash in them. But the sea was for the priest to wash in. He made the 10 lampstands of gold, according to the ordinance concerning them, and he set them in the temple, 5 on the right hand and 5 on the left. He made also 10 tables, and placed them in the temple, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left. He made 100 basins of gold. Furthermore, he made the court of the priests, the great court, and doors for the court, and overlaid their doors with bronze. He set the sea on the right side of the house eastward, toward the south. Huram made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Huram finished doing the work that he did for King Solomon in God's house. The 2 pillars, the bowls, the 2 capitals, which were on the top of the pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bows of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bows of the capitals that were on the pillars. He also made the bases, and he made the basins on the bases, 1 sea, and the 12 oxen under it. Huram-Abi also made the pots, the shovels, the forks, and all its vessels for King Solomon, for Yahweh's house of bright bronze. The king cast them in the plain of the Jordan, in the clay ground between Succoth and Sarada. Thus Solomon made all these vessels in great abundance, so that the weight of the bronze could not be determined. Solomon made all the vessels that were in God's house, the golden altar, the tables with the showbread on them, and the lampstands with their lamps to burn according to the ordinance before the inner sanctuary of pure gold, and the flowers, the lamps, and the tongs of gold that was purest gold, and the snuffers, the basins, the spoons, and the fire pans of pure gold. As for the entry of the house, its inner doors for the most holy place and the doors of the main hall of the temple were of gold. 2 Chronicles 5. Thus all the work that Solomon did for Yahweh's house was finished. Solomon brought in the things that David his father had dedicated, even the silver, the gold, and all the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of God's house. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the princes of the fathers' households of the children of Israel, to Jerusalem to bring up the ark of Yahweh's covenant out of David's city, which is Zion. So all the men of Israel assembled themselves to the king at the feast, which was in the 7th month. All the elders of Israel came. The Levites took up the ark. They brought up the ark, the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. The Levitical priests brought these up. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel who were assembled to him were before the ark, sacrificing sheep and cattle that could not be counted or numbered for multitude. The priests brought in the ark of Yahweh's covenant to its place, and to the inner sanctuary of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread out their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and its poles above. The poles were so long that the ends of the poles were seen from the ark in front of the inner sanctuary, but they were not seen outside, and it is there to this day. There was nothing in the ark except the 2 tablets which Moses put there in Horeb, when Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt. When the priests had come out of the holy place, for all the priests who were present had sanctified themselves and didn't keep their divisions. Also the Levites who were the singers, all of them, even Asaph, Heman, Jeduthun, and their sons and their brothers, arrayed in fine linen, with cymbals and stringed instruments and harps, stood at the east end of the altar, and with them 120 priests sounding with trumpets. When the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking Yahweh, and when they lifted up their voice with the trumpets and cymbals and instruments of music, and praised Yahweh, saying, For he is good, for his loving kindness endures forever. Then the house was filled with a cloud, even Yahweh's house, so that the priests could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for Yahweh's glory filled God's house. 1 Kings 7. Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. For he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits, on 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams on the pillars. It was covered with cedar above over the 45 beams that were on the pillars, 15 in a row. There were beams in 3 rows, and window was facing window in 3 ranks. All the doors and posts were made square with beams, and window was facing window in 3 ranks. He made the hall of pillars. Its length was 50 cubits, and its width 30 cubits, with a porch before them, and pillars and a threshold before them. He made the porch of the throne, where he was to judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from floor to floor. His house, where he was to dwell, the other court within the porch, was of the same construction. He made also a house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom Solomon had taken as wife, like this porch. All these were of costly stones, even of stone cut according to measure, sawed with saws, inside and outside, even from the foundation to the coping, and so on the outside to the great court. The foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits and stones of 8 cubits. Above were costly stones, even cut stone, according to measure, and cedar wood. The great court around had 3 courts of cut stone, with a course of cedar beams, like the inner court of Yahweh's house and the porch of the house. King Solomon sent and brought Hiram out of Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in bronze, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill to work all works in bronze. He came to King Solomon and performed all his work, for he fashioned the 2 pillars of bronze, 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits encircled either of them. He made 2 capitals of molten bronze to set on the tops of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were nets of checker work and wreaths of chain work for the capitals which were on the top of the pillars, 7 for the one capital and 7 for the other capital. So he made the pillars, and there were 2 rows of pomegranates around the one network, to cover the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and he did so for the other capital. The capitals that were on the top of the pillars in the porch were of lily work, 4 cubits. There were capitals above also on the 2 pillars, close by the belly which was beside the network. There were 200 pomegranates in rows around the other capital. He set up the pillars at the porch of the temple. He set up the right pillar and called its name Jachin, and he set up the left pillar and called its name Boaz. On the top of the pillars was lily work, so the work of the pillars was finished. He made the molten sea 10 cubits from brim to brim, round in shape. Its height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits encircled it. Under its brim around there were buds which encircled it for 10 cubits, encircling the sea. The buds were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east. And the sea was set on them above, and all their hindquarters were inward. It was a hand-width thick. Its brim was worked like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It held 2,000 baths. He made the 10 bases of bronze. The length of one base was 4 cubits its width, and 3 cubits its height. The work of the bases was like this. They had panels, and there were panels between the ledges. And on the panels that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubim. And on the ledges there was a pedestal above, and beneath the lions and oxen were wreaths of hanging work. Every base had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and its 4 feet had supports. The supports were cast beneath the basin, with wreaths at the side of each. Its opening within the capital and above was a cubit. Its opening was round like the work of a pedestal, a cubit and a half, and also on its opening were engravings, and their panels were square, not round. The 4 wheels were underneath the panels, and the axles of the wheels were in the base. The height of the wheel was a cubit and a half a cubit. The work of the wheels was like the work of the chariot wheel. Their axles, their rims, their spokes, and their hubs were all of cast metal. There were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each base. Its supports were of the base itself. In the top of the base there was a round band half a cubit high, and on the top of the base its supports and its panels were the same. On the plates of its supports and on its panels he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, each in its space, with wreaths all around. He made the 10 bases in this way. All of them have 1 casting, 1 measure, and 1 form. He made 10 basins of bronze. 1 basin contained 40 baths. Every basin measured 4 cubits. 1 basin was on every one of the 10 bases. He set the bases, 5 on the right side of the house and 5 on the left side of the house. He set the sea on the right side of the house, eastward and toward the south. Hiram made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram finished doing all the work that he worked for King Solomon in Yahweh's house. The 2 pillars, the 2 bows of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bows of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bows of the capitals that were on the pillars, the 10 bases, the 10 basins on the bases, the 1 sea, the 12 oxen under the sea, the pots, the shovels, and the basins. All of these vessels which Hiram made for King Solomon in Yahweh's house were of burnished bronze. The king cast them in the plain of the Jordan, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon left all the vessels unweighed, because there were so many of them. The weight of the bronze could not be determined. Solomon made all the vessels that were in Yahweh's house, the golden altar and the table that the showbread was on of gold, the lampstands, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, in front of the inner sanctuary of pure gold, and the flowers, the lamps, and the tongs of gold, the cups, the snuffers, the basins, the spoons, and the fire pans of pure gold, and the hinges both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house of the temple of gold. Thus all the work that King Solomon did in Yahweh's house was finished. Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, the silver, the gold, and the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of Yahweh's house. 1 Kings 8. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel with all the heads of the tribes, the princes of the fathers' households of the children of Israel, to King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of Yahweh's covenant out of David's city, which is Zion. All the men of Israel assembled themselves to King Solomon at the feast in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month. All the elders of Israel came, and the priests picked up the ark. They brought up Yahweh's ark, the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. The priests and the Levites brought these up. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel, who were assembled to him, were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and cattle that could not be counted or numbered for multitude. The priests brought in the ark of Yahweh's covenant to its place, into the inner sanctuary of the house, to the most holy place, even under the cherubim's wings. For the cherubim spread their wings out over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and its poles above. The poles were so long that the ends of the poles were seen from the holy place before the inner sanctuary, but they were not seen outside. They are there to this day. There was nothing in the ark except the 2 stone tablets which Moses put there at Horeb, when Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of the land of Egypt. It came to pass, when the priests had come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled Yahweh's house, so that the priests could not stand to minister, by reason of the cloud, for Yahweh's glory filled Yahweh's house. Then Solomon said, Yahweh has said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. I have surely built you a house of habitation, a place for you to dwell in forever. The king turned his face around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, and all the assembly of Israel stood. He said, Blessed is Yahweh, the God of Israel, who spoke with his mouth to David your father, and has with his hand fulfilled it, saying, Since the day that I brought my people Israel out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel to build a house, that my name might be there, but I chose David to be over my people Israel. Now it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of Yahweh, the God of Israel. But Yahweh said to David my father, Whereas it was in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Nevertheless, you shall not build the house, but your son who shall come out of your body, he shall build the house for my name. Yahweh has established his word that he spoke. For I have risen up in the place of David my father, and I sit on the throne of Israel, as Yahweh promised, and have built the house for the name of Yahweh, the God of Israel. There I have set a place for the ark, in which is Yahweh's covenant, which he made with our fathers when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. Solomon stood before Yahweh's altar in the presence of all the assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands toward heaven. And he said, Yahweh, the God of Israel, there is no God like you, in heaven above or on earth beneath, who keeps covenant and loving kindness with your servants who walk before you with all their heart, who has kept with your servant David my father that which you promised him. Yes, you spoke with your mouth and have fulfilled it with your hand, as it is today. Now therefore may Yahweh the God of Israel keep with your servant David my father that which you have promised him, saying, There shall not fall from you a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, if only your children take heed to their way, to walk before me as you have walked before me. Now therefore, God of Israel, please let your word be verified, which you spoke to your servant David my father. But will God in very deed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens can't contain you. How much less this house that I have built? Yet have respect for the prayer of your servant, and for his supplication, Yahweh my God, to listen to the cry and to the prayer which your servant prays before you today, that your eyes may be open toward this house night and day, even toward the place of which you have said, My name shall be there, to listen to the prayer which your servant prays toward this place. Listen to the supplication of your servant and of your people Israel, when they pray toward this place. Yes, here in heaven, your dwelling place, and when you hear, forgive. If a man sins against his neighbor, and an oath is laid on him to cause him to swear, and he comes and swears before your altar in the house, then hear in heaven and act, and judge your servants, condemning the wicked, to bring his way on his own head, and justifying the righteous, to give him according to his righteousness. When your people Israel is struck down before the enemy because they have sinned against you, if they turn again to you and confess your name, and pray, and make supplication to you in this house, then hear in heaven, and forgive the sin of your people Israel, and bring them again to the land which you gave to their fathers. When the sky is shut up, and there is no rain because they have sinned against you, if they pray toward this place and confess your name, and turn from their sin when you afflict them, then hear in heaven, and forgive the sin of your servants and of your people Israel, when you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and send rain on your land, which you have given to your people for an inheritance. If there is a famine in the land, if there is pestilence, if there is a blight, mildew, locust, or caterpillar, if their enemy besieges them in the land of their cities, whatever plague, whatever sickness there is, whatever prayer and supplication is made by any man, or by all your people Israel, who shall each know the plague of his own heart, and spread out his hands toward this house, then hear in heaven, your dwelling place, and forgive, and act, and give to every man according to all his ways, whose heart you know, for you, even you only, know the hearts of all the children of men, that they may fear you all the days that they live in the land which you gave to our fathers. Moreover, concerning the foreigner who is not of your people Israel, when he comes out of a far country for your name's sake, for they shall hear of your great name, and of your mighty hand, and of your outstretched arm, when he comes and prays towards this house, hear in heaven, your dwelling place, and do according to all that the foreigner calls to you for, that all the peoples of the earth may know your name, to fear you as do your people Israel, and that they may know that this house which I have built is called by your name. If your people go out to battle against their enemy, by whatever way you shall send them, and they pray to Yahweh toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house which I have built for your name, then hear in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against you, for there is no man who doesn't sin, and you are angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captive to the land of the enemy, far off or near. Yet if they repent in the land where they are carried captive, and turn again and make supplication to you in the land of those who carry them captive, saying, We have sinned and have done perversely, we have dealt wickedly. If they return to you with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, who carry them captive, and pray to you toward their land which you gave to their fathers, for the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name, then hear their prayer and their supplication in heaven, your dwelling place, and maintain their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you, and all their transgressions in which they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion before those who carry them captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they are your people and your inheritance, which you brought out of Egypt from the middle of the iron furnace, that your eyes may be open to the supplication of your servant and to the supplication of your people Israel, to listen to them whenever they cry to you. For you separated them from among all peoples of the earth to be your inheritance, as you spoke by Moses your servant, when you brought our fathers out of Egypt, Lord Yahweh. It was so that when Solomon had finished praying all this prayer and supplication to Yahweh, he arose from before Yahweh's altar, from kneeling on his knees, with his hands spread out toward heaven. He stood and blessed all the assembly of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, who has given rest to his people Israel, according to all that he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by Moses his servant. May Yahweh our God be with us as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us or forsake us, that he may incline our hearts to him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his ordinances, which he commanded our fathers. Let these my words, with which I have made supplication before Yahweh, be near to Yahweh our God day and night, that he may maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel, as every day requires, that all the people of the earth may know that Yahweh himself is God, there is no one else. Let your heart, therefore, be perfect with Yahweh our God, to walk in his statutes, and to keep his commandments, as it is today. The king and all Israel with him offered sacrifice before Yahweh. Solomon offered for the sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered to Yahweh, 22,000 head of cattle and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated Yahweh's house. The same day the king made the middle of the court holy that was before Yahweh's house, for there he offered the burnt offering, the meal offering, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the bronze altar that was before Yahweh was too little to receive the burnt offering, the meal offering, and the fat of the peace offerings. So Solomon held the feast at that time, and all Israel with him, a great assembly, from the entrance of Hamath to the brook of Egypt, before Yahweh our God, 7 days, and 7 more days, even 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went to their tents joyful and glad in their hearts, for all the goodness that Yahweh had shown to David his servant, and to Israel his people.